Relax, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join your host, Ron, as we talk all things Philadelphia Flyers and Lehigh Valley fandom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. with your special guest host, Mr. Russ Cohen. How you doing, Russ?
Good, Ron. How are you?
I am doing fantabulous. I mean, all we have to do is just open your eyes and there's hockey everywhere. I mean, seriously, right?
Good time of the year.
Right. Best time of the year. So,
No doubt.
with that being said, here we are, folks. Episode number 222 of the Hockey Writers Inc. with your special guest host, Russ Cohen, and me, of course, Ron Mont. We're here talking about the Philadelphia Flyers trade deadline is looming, and we got to talk about that because, man, there's going to be some stuff rolling, I think, here in the next couple of days here for the Philadelphia Flyers. Maybe, maybe not. But I want to get your take on this, Russ, because you're the man with the finger on the pulse of the team. You pretty much know what's going on. You're there on a regular. You cover the team. You know what I mean? You do a great show with Rachel and Locked On Flyers, by the way. Go check that out, Locked On Flyers. And all the stuff that you do. So we saw Danny Briere's little presser the other day where he, came out and said, nope, he's not changing his plans. He's following course, right?
Right.
The course is getting more draft picks. Is he selling? Is he buying? What's going on, Russ? What do you think here? I mean,
they're mostly selling. I mean, they'll be
Okay.
buying if it helps them in the future, like in a hockey trade. But hockey trades are hard to make at the deadline, so he'll be looking for that. But they're not like a huge player. Like as an example, they wouldn't be in on Robert Thomas. The price is too high.
Right.
The Sabres have those kind of assets, so maybe the Sabres will get that deal done. This Austin Matthews stuff, I don't think he goes anywhere, so I don't think there's any point in talking about him. I think the Leafs would just let him run out his contract and then worry about it. But I think they have to trade Rasmus Ristolainen. I don't think there's a question about it. Just because it looks like they're 4 points out, they're really 5 because they don't have the tiebreaker. As we talked about very early in the year that they didn't have enough regulation wins, and now this is where it comes home to roost. So you're really
exactly.
you're really 5. But if you go look at Money Puck, they're right now today an 11% chance of making the playoffs, where the Bruins are 54.2. And there's teams ahead of them. It's not like the Flyers are right behind them.
Right.
So
because they need help too.
They need help. And even though it appears closer, the math gets worse because, like as an example, the Penguins are playing the Bruins. Like if that turns into a 3-point game, it didn't matter that you won yesterday. You slip in the standings.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
You have to trade Ristolainen. He's not injured. He's playing his best hockey. He is a little banged up right now. So he was on a maintenance day from practice. And I think Danny Briere needs to talk to Rick Tocchet and say, hey, listen, I understand you need to play him, but you don't need to play him the second amount of most of minutes. I'm trying to move this guy. And you know what? Just give him like 15, 16 minutes and you'll have to make do. And if I trade him, you're going to have to pull him from a game. And he needs to have that conversation with him because he's the best option to get like a second round pick, maybe a first, maybe a conditional first of anybody else they own.
Let me float something by you, Russ, because this was something that I'm on. I do another show called Puck and Deep. And we talked a lot about some of the trade rumors and things like that, but we did a show specifically on the possibilities of trading Travis Konechny. And I know that we kind of dabbled on this a little bit in the past, but I want to kind of bring it to the fore now because we're approaching the trade deadline. And I also feel that TK could be an asset that the Flyers could also trade to try to help garner for the future.
Sure. So I don't say it's impossible that he gets traded at some point. I don't think it would be at this deadline. I think it might be, a summer thing or next season thing. If he, because I know he showed some frustration and he might still be frustrated as far as where the Flyers are at in this rebuild. But the key point here is he's not going to bring you that 1C. Travis Konechny is not good enough to bring you that 1C. Him and
Nope.
Martone aren't good enough to bring you that 1C. Now, him, Martone, and a couple firsts, maybe, but but again, then what are you going to? I mean, it's not like the Flyers have the deepest system here. So, what are you going to mortgage off to get that position? And if you get that position filled, now have you mortgaged off too much? That's why
Yeah.
you still, to me, you still have to get that 1C in a draft. So this way, everything else comes around together. Because right now, for the last couple of years, we've talked about what the Flyers' deficiencies are. Top line center, top defenseman, still a number
Right.
one goalie. Because even though if Vladar
Right.
is good, I don't know if he's a long term number one. And
Agreed.
so you have those things, but you also have to remember they have aging parts. So it's not like that's it. You know, like Tyson Forster is a really good part, right? But don't really have a lot of left wingers. They have mostly right wingers, and moving Mitchkov to the left wing has been a disaster. They
Pretty
haven't
much.
moved him back, and so you still need like a second line left wing. You still need, like there's other things as players age out that they're going to need, and at some point, if let's say it's 3-4 years from now, and Sanheim is kind of moved down in the pairings, then you're going to need number two defenseman
Yeah.
because
Right.
Cam York parent will be on that same age,
Yeah.
train and,
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah.
else. So I had always said that a couple of years ago, a lot of this didn't line up with the contracts they had signed long term and the plan. So to me, the plan has changed, but just Danny doesn't tell anybody. But it's
Right.
changed because
Well, it
it's
has to. It
clearly,
had to.
yeah, it's clearly not, it didn't change in what the objective is, but it
Right.
changed in what the amount of time might be that they're rebuilding. Because
Or how
clearly
they're
they're
going to
going to
go
be,
about doing it.
yeah. So clearly it's going to take longer. The Cutter Gauthier thing started them off on that path. And it's pretty much they've gone down that path now with, Couturier not being able to rebound, uh, Owen Tippett not really coming around. Like Owen Tippett's again had a disappointing season. I don't know if he'll ever be that 30-goal scorer. He's not
Yeah.
going to be it this year.
No.
So that doesn't make him a bad player. It just makes him not a core player. And so could he get dealt at this deadline? Sure. But they're not actively shopping him. It's not like they're trying to trade him. If
Yeah.
somebody is targeting him, sure, but they're going to have to overpay to get him. And so like this whole Bruins thing, I don't really see that. Because I don't think they're going to overpay for anybody. Don Sweeney's kind of said that. They
Yeah.
were there in town the other day. I think they're looking to make deals, but I think they would get Vincent Trocheck before they get Owen Tippett if they were going to get somebody.
I was just going to say, yeah, because that I think that deal sounds more along the lines of what Boston would do
Yeah,
to help bolster their team than to try to bring in, somebody like an Owen Tippett who,
right.
you know what I mean, is not
Complimentary player, but
right.
you know,
Right. Complimentary player. You said it perfectly,
but it's
Russ.
like bringing in another Charlie Coyle type. Like they've had that.
Exactly. And that, you know what I mean? So and
But
they
again,
need that over the hump kind of guy, you know what I
right.
mean? And he's not.
No, Tippett is not a star. He's just a really fast player that can score some goals and get like 50 points. But there's a lot of players like that in the league. So again, when you start breaking down what the Flyers have in their system, it's not overwhelmingly great. Like, you have Martone, terrific. You have Luchenko, who's good, but he's been disappointing this year and last year to some degree.
Yeah, I agree.
So you don't know what his trajectory is. Berglund, it looks like he's, topping out above what he is, but we have to also understand that he's just physically so much more beyond than a lot of the younger players that we have to see when he gets a few
And
levels
wait.
up
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
gets over here in North America, what that means, because it's not like he's putting up tons of points in the SHL, but he's going to be a really good center. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know how
Yeah.
offensive he'll be. So there's still those needs. They have other draft picks that they did last year. Presumably they did better in that draft
I mean,
than
Vansagi's
in
not doing too bad.
no, Van Sagi's pretty good, but he again is a complimentary guy,
Right.
a lesser guy than Tippett, but more physical.
Right.
So like when you start like really shaking it all out, um, as far as like top end talent, they don't have a lot. And that's why I'm an advocate of them getting more picks because they still need to find that. Because ultimately you don't find that in free agency. Like last year, their
I was
plan
going to say
was
you can't buy that.
it's hard to. You can buy some of it, but not a lot of it. Um, the the plan last year was they were going to clear cap space. There were going to be all these great free agents come this summer. Now, come this summer, there's a few good free agents, but
Right.
none of them are really game changers for what they need. So
Right.
you shouldn't spend the money on that because everybody else has pretty much been re-signed that they would have had great interest in. So I
Yeah.
think that part of the plan changed too. And when all that happens, that's when you have to adjust. And I think internally they're adjusting, but externally, as far as the message, they're kind of trying to control the message a bit.
That does kind of seem like that's what's going on. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? You can tell. Um, Either way you slice it, though, I think some very important decisions have to be made, not just at this trade deadline, but I think in this off season. You know what I mean?
I
And
think at this draft too.
yeah,
I think this draft's very important to them because I think this draft, if it doesn't go as well as last draft, and we know that the last few before that didn't go great at all,
right.
um, then they really need to make changes. They should have probably made them before this draft, as I'd said many times, but they haven't. So to me, this is like the draft that needs to prove it, or they need to start changing that because that's going to need alterations.
Okay, now with that being said, and with the state of the team the way it is currently right now, there's still, I mean, yeah, they on paper they're only 4 points out, but in reality they're five. The chances of them making the playoffs this year are pretty slim. You said 11%, right?
11.3% today. Even if they win
That's
the next game, maybe it's up to 15. You know what I mean? Like
right, right.
Bruins are 54.2. That's who you're chasing.
And you're
And if
still
they win
points
another
behind
one, then
them,
they're 60, you know?
right? And there's still points behind them,
Yes.
right? So they need help. They need the Bruins
I
to
mean,
lose.
they're still behind Columbus and they're still behind Washington. They have games in hand on Washington, but Boston has
Columbus,
a game in hand on the Flyers,
right,
so we're not even factoring that in. That's part of the 11%.
right.
And Columbus, I think, is even with the Flyers, but they're 3
Okay,
points up.
okay,
And
and
they're
they
nowhere.
just
They're 3 points up and they're nowhere.
right, 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 right. Are y'all listening to this?
I mean, I understand it's you want your team to do it, but you can't do it at the expense of the future. So like you can't keep Risto and say, we're gonna go for it when your chances are like maybe gonna be 15%. Like nobody would take those odds if you went to the roulette table and
You
they
know.
told you if you put down this $100, you're gonna have a 15% chance of winning. I mean, I would have to have a lot of drinks in me to think that that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not putting down $100 for no 15%. You
No,
know, I'd put $100 down on 54%,
sure,
right, with no drinks involved, right?
right, right.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Russ, not necessarily a betting man until he's got a few drinks in him.
If that's what you took from that conversation, that's fine.
No, but it makes a lot of sense when you really look at it. The way that we've talked about this team, the way that we've broken this down. If Danny Briere doesn't get at least two players out of this draft that hit, do we
Everything has
start?
to be changed.
Do we?
Everything.
Okay, that's what I was just going to
I
ask
mean,
you,
it should have been changed last year, but everything has to be changed then.
including management.
Not the GM, but like everything internally with scouts and all that other, director of amateur scouting, all that.
See now, I
Player
thought that.
development has to be looked at.
See now, I thought that was part of one of the things that was a major thing that he did when he came in, because when he was learning the ropes, he was there coaching up the scouts and telling the scouts, hey, you need to be going to the games and all this other stuff, and getting the scouts to go to the games and all this other stuff, right?
Sure, but how much did he learn from that?
Okay, I
Not
understand.
enough. Not
Right,
enough.
clearly,
Because it was
clearly.
not enough time.
Okay, so now you're saying we got to do it again if needed, if you know what I mean, like if you don't hit on this draft.
No, Ron, I'm not saying you have to do it again. I'm saying you have to do it right.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And it just wasn't done right.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get to. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I might have missed it or not.
No, no,
I'm
no, no.
sorry,
I'm just saying like
but
that's
I agree. That's what I was trying to
the
get to.
basis of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the basis of it. And so, he has a little more experience now. Now you have to do it right. And so they did bring in a performance guy from the NBA. I hear great things about him. That's
Yeah.
good. But that's
Yeah.
not going to help in drafting. It may help developing because it'll help players get in better shape and eat better, train better, sleep better. So that part's good. But that's only a part of the player development. That's not the on ice. That's not, and it's not at the draft table. So there's still other things that need to get upgraded.
I agree 110%. And quite honestly, I would upgrade some of that stuff just regardless.
Yeah. No,
I
I would have
mean,
done it. Like I told you, I would have done it already. I still would do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm talking. I mean,
I mean,
I would
again,
wait
there's
till
no
this off
salary
season.
cap on the
Yeah,
front office. You
right.
could
So
spend as
do it.
much as you want on that.
Exactly. So do it. Why not? You are trying to build this team to be where you want it to be, and it's almost like you're kind of hindering yourself because you're not allowing yourself to get the people in here that can get you those kind of draft picks that you need. I
Yeah.
mean, let's face it. The last since we've had Fletcher, okay, since Fletcher was the GM,
Right.
how many draft picks really have gone on to be, superstars or game
Well,
changers?
superstars is easy, 0.
Right, game changers. How many game changers has they drafted?
2.
And I'm going all the way back to Fletcher now, okay?
Yeah.
Right? We can even go back as far as Hextall.
Well, that's the thing. If you're going to start going Chris Pryor Hextall, like a lot of this team is still comprised of some Chris Pryor Hextall picks like Travis Sanheim, when we could just start there. So,
So
you
now you're
know,
getting it. Okay, right. That's what I'm trying to go. That's what I'm trying to go.
yeah.
The fact that this team needs to, and we talked about this before, Russ, on a couple of shows. This team needs to hit on more draft picks than just one guy or two guys or three guys
Yeah,
in
like
10
2
years.
is the baseline that you want. But they
Right.
had to do better. And
Yeah,
they were in a position where they had to do better, and they're not doing better than that. So, improve that.
exactly. So there you go. All right. The last thing I want to talk about here is this is something that you and I, Russ, we kind of felt that this team was on a trajectory to potentially be a playoff team, but now it's looking like that's not going to be the case. And we're talking about the Lehigh Valley Phantoms here. And although they've won a couple of games here and there, they have just seriously dropped off. I mean, they were in third for how long, and now they're not even
They're in
looking at a
5th.
wild card spot.
I think they can make the wild card, but I think they have to get better goaltending. I did a deep dive on Carson Bjarnason and Alexei Kolosov, and Kolosov is still disappointing. Like he still plays a little small. He has
Yep.
some good games, don't get me wrong,
Right.
and he definitely, helped them get to a certain point, but I don't see great improvement out of him as the season goes on. Now, I know that John Snowden was talking about their structure breaking down on defense, and I do think there's
Yeah.
some of that, but I
Yeah.
do think like these last games that they had, they could have had a better go of the last 3 if they had better goaltending because they were getting goals. And, Alex Bump is getting a fair amount of points now. He's got like 6 in 5 games. He's still not playing enough defense and not engaging enough physically, but they have sort of like loosened up the restrictions of him doing that so he can get his offense on track, and it is. So that part's good. Oliver Bonk has picked it up. That's
Yeah.
good. But there's so
Yeah.
many guys that haven't picked
Yeah.
it up. And
Exactly.
and so between that and Bjarnason's just learning, but he could be better. And so that's something where we'll see how the rest of the season goes for him. It is his rookie year, but I feel like lately he's tailed off a bit. A couple of those goals against Hartford were brutal on the
Yeah.
Saturday game. I think it was when they were
Yeah.
up 2-0, then it got tied
Yeah.
2-2. So those kinds of things will derail you. I think John Snowden's doing a good job with what he has. I mean, again, Barkey has been gone forever,
Right.
and Neil Andre never went back down.
Right.
And,
And you
you know,
and
so
Bonk missed time,
and Bonk
right?
missed a
Bonk
lot of
missed
time.
time. You know what I mean? So yeah, I
And
get
I
it.
and I don't feel like they had the super strong roster to begin with without those guys. And
Right.
now you can see like they just don't have a lot of scoring, but they're getting more. Like Tomasino's doing fine. They were
Right.
hoping he could be a center, just the same as Trevor Zegras. Hey, Zegras could score. He's terrific. He's not a center. Tomasino's scoring somewhat now. He's definitely
Yeah.
not a center.
Right.
He's just a plug. Like he's not the guy that he was when he was a draft pick, but he's helping the team. And now they traded Roman Schmidt, which was good because he really wasn't doing anything. But Boris Katchuk is just like this heavy player who he's kind of like Nino Niederreiter light because he doesn't even
Yeah.
score as much as like Niederreiter, But he's not going to hurt him. It's just like I don't know what
Right.
he's going to do point
Yeah.
wise for them,
Yeah.
but at least it adds another forward. Uh, but yeah, they're going to have to really figure this out because they are in danger of missing the playoffs.
Okay. And we both thought
And that's
that
not good for the future for development and everything. Because I know
exactly.
everybody last year used the excuse, hey, a lot of the best prospects are not there. Well, okay, but some of the best well, that was true last year. And now some of the best prospects are still not there, like Berglund's not there, Martone's not there, but then some of them were there and they got injured or whatever, and then they weren't, playing great either for a while. So you can't really use that excuse as much this year.
There you go. And you heard it right there from the horse's mouth. Okay. I mean, at some point the rubber has to meet the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I also agree too. I think Snowden is doing a great job down there with what he's
yeah,
got. He doesn't have a lot of depth, and any depth that he's even remotely is going to have has been called up or has been
right.
rotated
Like
back.
on
So I mean,
defense, it keeps yeah, they keep losing defensemen every
you know,
couple of days.
how are you supposed to play like that? And
But
if you
that's just
don't
that is the
have the
nature of
depth,
the AHL, though. It
right,
is
right. But see, if they had some of these prospects that were living up
playing
to
better.
expectations,
Yeah,
living up to
that would help.
expectations, then they would have some depth and they would
Right.
be able to, you know what I mean? And so that's the whole that's the frustration here. Is
Yeah,
you
not
got
hitting
these
on enough mid to late round guys for sure.
exactly, exactly. So that's what I wanted to talk about on this show here. We both feel that the Flyers do have some moves to make. More than likely, they're going to happen in the off season rather than at the trade deadline. If anything remotely happens at the trade deadline, it more than likely is going to be Risto. If
Yeah, I would say
anything,
Risto. If Risto doesn't happen, then it'll be Juleson, but it should be Risto.
okay.
There's a outside shot for Tippett. There's, is anybody interested in Garden Hathaway? I don't know, but you never know. Maybe there's something.
Please.
Yeah. Maybe there's something there. Could Bobby Brink be in something? He could, but I don't think they're actively pushing for that. So I think those are, your main guys for that.
Yeah, and either way you slice it, I don't really care who goes because I would much rather see this team get better in the future. So if that means that
Yeah.
a
Like they're
fan
not a year
favorite,
away from what Danny wants, like making the
no,
playoffs every year. They're not a year
no,
away from that. It doesn't
no.
matter how many points. The NHL changes every year. And like just because and again, beginning of the year, you asked me what did I think the Flyers were going to do? And I said they'll probably be 4 points out and stuck in the mud. And that's kind of close to what they are right now.
Can
And
you
but I
pick some
mean,
lottery numbers for me, Russ?
yeah, I lose the lottery all the time. Well, stuck in the mud. What I mean about that is just the mushy middle of the league. And then, so you're not picking in the top 10, you're picking around 12 to 15. That doesn't help.
Just like always,
Yeah. So
just
that's
like
the
always.
yin, that's the yin and the yang of it. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
the hard part.
And that's what needs to improve because if you are going to be constantly picking in that area, then you need to have better scouting and you better
Yeah.
have a
You got to
better
hit bigger
idea.
on those picks. Yeah.
You have a little bit more pressure on you to hit on those picks because you're picking 12th to 20th. You know
Like
what I mean?
Samu Tuamala, total disaster, second round pick gone.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like you can't have that happen.
Nope. Especially second round picks,
Yeah.
especially early second round picks that
Yeah.
they had, and they even had early third round picks too. You got to hit on some of them early rounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This year, the draft,
Maybe they did on this year. We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, Porter Martone has been
Oh, he's terrific.
head and shoulders above anybody that they've drafted in the
The
last two
bad
years.
part for the Flyers is he's their best prospect. The good part for the Flyers is he's their best
The best
prospect, and the only
prospect?
reason the only reason he's without a doubt their best is because Jet Luchenko hasn't even come close to taking that.
Not even.
Jet Luchenko might be their third best prospect.
That's
So,
if Jet Luchenko is your third best prospect. I don't know. Maybe.
well, because
Hey.
he's not a first line center. I think we all
Nope.
know that. So now the
Nope.
question is, can he even be a second line center? That's the question that we're going to answer in the future.
And I've seen him play third line center and not very well. Right.
Yeah, but I think that might be where he ends up. That might be his jam, but we'll see. You never know. I don't
Yeah.
want to take that away
Okay.
because he
Right.
is still on the young side for a guy who was drafted his year, and so
Yep.
I still will give him a chance. But like I said, this year has been bad.
Yep. And it doesn't look like his team that he got traded to is going to make it to the playoffs. I think either. I don't think his team that he got traded to is going to make it to the playoffs. So I mean, yeah. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, Russ, I got to say thank you very much for hopping on here and doing this, man. Hockey Writers Inc. episode 222, Flyers trade deadline talk here with special guest host Russ Cohen. Russ, why don't you tell the folks where we can find all your great stuff like this?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy. Tell us where we can get all your stuff, Russ.
Yeah, I mean, sportsology.com, NHLdraftbuzz.com. Yeah, I've got books on Amazon, or you could just not email, you could message me on one of the social media platforms if you want something signed. I'm happy to do it. It's at Sportsology on Instagram, on Off the Post, where we do 3 times a week. We're going to have a special draft show on Friday.
Yeah,
So,
baby,
yeah.
signed.
Yep. And so, yeah, those are the main things. And then I'm on Sirius XM like I was today, 12:15 every week with
Yep.
Nick Kern.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Awesome. My buddy Perlo Wisdom's been listening to you on XM Sirius Radio now for
Cool.
20 years now. So he's a huge fan, by the way. Shout out to Perlo
I don't
Wisdom.
think anybody could, I wouldn't have thought anybody could be listening to me for 20 years except for my wife, but here we are.
Okay, right? And I
And
guarantee
she
you.
just said she doesn't anymore. So there you go. I lost another listener on the
Oh,
show.
man. Well, you gained one.
I gained one, I lost one. So I'm
Okay,
at
right.
0.
So, all right, 0-0. All right, okay. There you go. Thank you all very much for tuning in and checking us out, man. We really appreciate that. By the way, hop on over to lowercaseblues.net. That's lowercaseblues.net. If you are in the Delmarva area, you got to check these guys out. They are some of the best blues on the planet. Got to go check out their website, check out some of their swag, check out their videos and their new album, and also their tour dates. Big props and thanks to you, Russ, for hopping on here and joining us. You can follow me at X on or at X at RNJ_media. Also, don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and make sure you get subbed up and subscribed. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We will catch you all on the next one.